Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to Morning Verses with Mike. Thank you for getting up early and joining me, or if it is early where you're at. It is 6:15 a.m. Mountain Time. I share a Bible verse every Monday through Friday at 6:15 Mountain Time. So whatever time it puts it where you're at, I would love to have you join me. I stream this live to my Morning Verses with Mike Facebook page. You can find that by going to Morning Verses with Mike or searching hashtag MVWM. Same thing with the YouTube channel. You can look that up. I stream live there as well. So I'm going to click over here to anyone that may be joining early this morning. I see Ryan already popping into the room and a couple other people coming across. So good morning. I know I say good morning a lot, but part of it is I'm sometimes still trying to wake myself up, right? As I get rolling here. There's some mornings that I'm way more highly motivated than others. That's just real life, right? So this morning I am going to be sharing from or the book of Psalms, Psalm 55, verse 22. So each morning I share from the New Living Translation of Every Man's Bible here. And the reason I do that, I like just the fact that it reads a little easier. I like that it's a study Bible and there's some additional, kind of sharing and information. So when I am reading from Psalms, I know I've read a few of these from here, and it's a songbook, right? It's a songbook for especially when you're talking about like the masculine perspective. Every Man's Bible talks a lot about the masculine perspective. I think it can be applied to anybody's perspective, but it says, some men think praise and worship is more of a women's engagement, and this is an entire songbook written by men. So open your eyes to worship to the fact that worship is for everybody. And I as I'm reading through this, like, I get fired up about this particular psalm, a particular verse. So let's get in there. Psalm 55, verse 22 says, "Give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall." This is one of those points. I think this is some of the best advice, Psalm 55:22. I think it's some of the best advice that is given in the Bible. And the key is give it all to God. Give it all up to God. You've heard people say, let go and let God. And this is where we let it happen. The thing is, letting go is hard. It's hard for us to drop our burdens. It's hard for us to drop our grudges and our opinions sometimes, and the gossip. And for example, we can say, well, yeah, I'm going to let go and let God. And then all of a sudden we're driving to work today in the snow. Well, it's snowing where I'm at anyway. And you're driving to work in the snow, and that person is either following too close or driving too close or cut you off. And in that moment, it's really hard to let go, isn't it? Right? The thing is, sorry, I'm still I got allergies this time of year too, so my eyes are kind of watering. Yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, letting go is hard, and it's easy to say, right? It's easy to say, well, I'm just going to let go and let God, but to truly release the grudges and the burdens and those things that are happening to us every day, that can be really hard. But once we do, letting God, like giving it all to God, letting God can be the easy part. Because God has you. If you're focused on something bigger than yourself, if we can just exhale for a moment, just exhale and let God carry those burdens and really let it be known that he's got you, then when you do that, there's like a release. It just happens, right? When we get focused on something other than ourselves, when we're truly focused on faith and truth and our love for him, then everything becomes easier. everything becomes easier. And I know at first it can seem easier said than done. I see Ryan saying something. He says, it's easier to say than to do. Yes. What's an example of how we can let go? For me, a way to let go is truly just to take a moment, and it can seem silly, but really where it hits me is just exhale. Just take a moment and, thank God that that person's not following even closer. Just exhale. When you exhale, you have to, in certain situations, and I'm using the driving and snow situation because that's what's going on right now, right here. Pull over. Let that person go by. They may need to get somewhere more quickly than you do. And in that moment, it can seem difficult because you're like, look, I got somewhere to be and stuff also. But if you just take that moment and say, well, put that person first. Doesn't matter if you know them personally and have engaged with them, right? There's still a person, and if you really know that deep down and you stay rooted in yourself and in your faith, and I think that's something that it can just happen. Ryan says over here, he says maybe let go of what we want. Yeah, I think sometimes that's the hard part. It is really hard to let go of something that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm striving so hard for that. But at the moment, if you say, look, because I've got somewhere to be too, right? I have somewhere to be. I have to be worried about, my kids getting to school on time. And I know I'm using this one example, but that's just where I'm living right now. That other person, if you put them first and really focus on who it is that you are, what are the values in your core, right? Every other person is just as important as you are. So when you're focused on somebody else more than focused inward, it's one of those deals, and this may be off track, but when I'm saying, let go and let God, this is just how he's speaking to me at the moment. One of the things, I remember reading a psychology book at one point, and one of the things that they had done with people with clinical depression was to have them look in a mirror and smile and focus on something outside of themselves. And that was a help to remove that depression, right? Because often, and I'm not a psychologist, but one of the things is like with depression or with clinical depression, what happens is we focus inward. We focus on all the things that are burdening and drowning us out and diving into us. And so one of the things that you can do is really focus on an outward person, focus on somebody else, focus on smiling, focus on what your core values are, right? Rather than the things that are burdening you. And when you're focused on something else, you don't have time to focus on yourself. And for at least in the moment, I know the studies they had done, that those people could no longer be depressed because they were focused outward rather than inward. So when you're focused on God and the things around you rather than on yourself, that's one way that it will remove that. So that's, I guess, the simple reminder. And right now, if you're hearing this, maybe you need to let go and let God focus on that outward rather than the inward. So Ryan says, and he says here in the side, it says, focus on who we are. Yeah, focus on who you are at your core, right? Focus on what it is that is engaging with and teaching and growing others rather than what it is that just you want for yourself. Because when you focus on another person, when you're letting go of the things inside you and you are, letting God take part and reach and grow through you, those other people, it'll all come full circle. It will all come full circle because at some point you will need that too, and other people will then come in and they will be able to focus on you, help grow you, and so forth. And so I think that's one of the miracles, so to speak, in letting go and letting God, is it will all come back around. So Psalm 55:22, that's what it says. Give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. And I do think a lot of times in giving our burdens to the Lord, He's telling us, hey, give them to other people too. Let them help take them on for you. Focus on others. So thank you so much for getting up and joining me this morning for another Morning Verses with Mike. Remember, I do this every Monday through Friday, 6:15 a.m. I'd love to have you join me. So click the live notification button if you're over there on Facebook so that you get notified when the Morning Verses with Mike page goes live, or join me on the YouTube channel. I do have more of an audience certainly right now on Facebook, but YouTube just hits 200 subscribers. Whoop, whoop. So join me over there. Thanks. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.